I'd like to request the President, Tudin Shedling Foundation, and also the Chairman of the Organizing Committee, Venerable Tulku Tenzin Gurme Rinpoche, for the introduction to the symposium and invocation.
Pajo Chenam Boy Moran Jimbo Boy Nido Tone Lao Yuldu Dam Jiti Dubi Goa Tunbor Shejikbe Dulju Jibi Dulje Rinji Tayan Jozu Chimbom Iwo Chi Nazo Medo Diji Dubi Nazo Dijo Wei Xiam Yi Zhu Qi Jin Jiao Se Nam Xin Zhu Ji Lan Qian Bom
Kangri Raveko Ve Shingam Su Penda Dewa Malu Chungwe Ne Chere Sewa Tenzi Gyasui Shabe Sede Badu Tenju Chi She Choba Choba Ngundo Tande Ladan Chebe Towa Yongi Kunjab Lana Macheba Saden Jaden Yongzo Jingada Chino Gonsa Unji Zego Tolia Chedu Jan Chibju Jambe Pande Gande Podang Tunchi Capture Yande Rumbuchi Chogi Ube Ken Rumbuchi number Rumbuchi Lenge Kishan number Jamne Jendungi Dedang Arana Chalang Ade Chijab Lunche Kusha Pema Kandolag Ube Chepsigi Tugin Shebu Tugin Ulchube Lene number Lenge Sane di Zomben dan Chitu Ube, Sane di Tizu Somi Lenge, Sondu Delia, Chetu Jane, Chipju Jambe, Zamling, Chodakhan Pebe, Sojawa, Damsheba, Deshi Mixi Kundunje, Deshi de Musu, Sondule Chabe, Tawang Zondan, De Sakugi, Neshu, Namalinge Tsangmalia. Naja Sondu Gori Sojungi Mo Chumbe Tone Namalingi Tsangmalia Toma de Samde Tishtri Shui. Dene Sondu Mushi Jojadi that they couldn't manche Chodahan Peba Manguche and they inge making Mabushara Meba Inza and inge Tolia dus Shuchoba Shui. I was so busy for the last 2 months with so many of us working hard to make this conference a reality. And 5 minutes before this actual inauguration, I realized that I haven't put together a speech. So you all have to pardon me and forgive me. I will speak from my heart. I, on the behalf of the organizing committee of the International Conference on the 6th Dalai Lama, extends my heartiest greetings and welcome to Kyabje Yande Rinpoche from Ganden Podang, Sharze Ken Rinpoche, the abbot of Tawang Monastery, Kyabje Dole Rinpoche, Padma Shri Kyabje Guru Rinpoche, Rigyal Hawe Rinpoche, Kishi Thupten Kumpe, who is here to represent Devon Loseling Monastery, Kantola, and all the monastic Sangha members. I also extend my deepest greetings to the Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Pema Kantola, our MP sir, and all the district administration officers and everyone who is here without the need to name each and everyone, I, on the behalf of my organizing committee, extends the heartfelt welcome to all of you for coming to this conference. My heartiest greetings and welcome also goes to all the international speakers who have come from so far away to this remote place. Sometimes when you type in Tawang into the Google, sometimes you cannot even find a proper location. But you all really took so hard to come from different parts of the world to this conference. And I, on the behalf of organizing committee, and on the behalf of everyone here, especially the lovely people of Tawang, extend our heartiest greetings to all of you. And my welcome also goes to all the great esteemed scholars, researchers, practitioners who came from different parts of India, especially from Tibetan exile community, from Dharamsala, from Varanasi, and many, many other places. Thank you so much for coming to this conference. And also to all the participants of this conference. So let me begin with a very simple story. How this big conference that we are hosting and every one of you are attending today came into our life. Exactly about 13 months ago, our most honorable Chief Minister paid a visit to Tudin Shedling Center in a very, very informal meeting, during which I requested Sir and convey him about the importance of the 6th Dalai Lama Gyaltsen, who was born in Tawang. He was a child born in Tawang and became the great poet, we can say, one of the greatest scholars, and also one of the most realized spiritual practitioners whose fame spread from all parts of Tibet to Mongolia, to China, to all over Asia, and later also to Western world and the Eastern modern academia world. There is no one in the academia world, particularly, who doesn't know Tsaya Gyatso, the 6th Dalai Lama. Such a true gem and treasure that was born in Tawang, yet the recognition, the respect, the true respect that he deserved, we have not been able to properly offer that to him. So when I explained these things to our Honorable Chief Minister, he became immediately very supportive and told us that we have to do it. And with me, I have never met Moji sir, who is sitting behind the brain and the pillar of this conference. I do not know him, I've never met him, but we became such a great team and we worked for almost more than a year to bring together this conference. And this conference becomes a reality. And the greatest thanks goes to Moji sir, to you. Thank you so much for all the hard work. That's when the seed for this conference was planted, and we worked hard for the last 13 months to put together. We personally invited all the scholars, contacted them. When we started sending out the official invitation for the conference, we were not that hopeful that this conference will become a reality. Maybe Moji sir, you, and Kaldenla, you also remember, initially we thought to do this only a national conference, inviting 1 or 2 scholars. We never thought of such a grand, but then it is the vision, the kindness of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama and the 6th Dalai Lama himself who made this conference a reality. So that's why I welcome all of you to this conference, and this is the short beginning of how the conference came to our life. After I completed my Geshe education in Sarajevo, I got the opportunity to go to Harvard for 2 years. The reason why I wanted to mention it today here, I attended few classes, and my professor, Professor Janet Gazo, is here. Thank you so much for coming all the way here. And also one of my other professor in the South Asian department, Professor Venterkaib, who couldn't come in person, but he will be here in spirits. And as soon as there is a discussion about the sixth Dalai Lama, they are well aware of his legacy and scholarships. And I was stunned how much attention to the sixth Dalai Lama is given all over the world. So that's also a time when I started that we have to do something here. Next, I wanted to explain a little bit about Tudin Shedling Foundation, which I founded in 2017 with the blessing of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama. We are an organization that is promoting Buddhist studies in Tawang and social and ethical studies in Tawang, including English and Tibetan language. But the main principal goal of TSF is to make Buddhist studies accessible to everyone in Tawang, not only limited to monastic communities and scholars. So this conference is very important for us. And we worked hard for days and months. And now is the time to offer my sincere thanks to those who made this conference become a reality. And our sincere and the heartiest thanks goes to none other than our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Pema Khandula, for your kindness, for your guidance, and for your support, without which this conference would not be possible. Thank you so much, sir, on behalf of everyone. And I also want to thank our Deputy Commissioner, Madam Namje Omala, and all the departments of yours who has really done a lot to make this conference a reality. Thank you so much, ma'am. And all the members of DOCA, Churik's department, led by Dr. Kaldenla, and all the other members. And there is two special individuals who I wanted to name here in the conference, who had worked so hard from the beginning. They were responsible for writing hundreds of thousands of emails to all the scholars, arranging their transport until the last minute. So they have been the main foundation and the main pillar of this conference. Can I introduce Dr. Shogo Mekata? Can you please rise up? She's here. And Zarina, she's in the third line. Dr. Shogo Mekata is my classmate in Harvard, and Zarina from Sweden. They have been working so hard. Thank you so much from everyone. And then there is hundreds of people working at TSF. Great team led by Moji sir, who put together to make this conference a reality. Thank you so much for everyone. Now, it's the time to think and shed a light about a little bit about sixth Dalai Lama. I won't go into detail who the sixth Dalai Lama is, what are his works. Those things will be discussed in the technical session that will happen from tomorrow. But however, there's enormous amount of poem scholarships on him, which are all scattered all over the world. And until now, I can say there's not a single resource or a collected work that is done on the life and the legacy of sixth Dalai Lama. I was very happy to know that Office of His Dalai Lama has put together a collection of almost 4 volumes, and our own great scholar, Rigyal Havid Rinpoche, is also coming with another edition dedicating towards the Tsangyeso. Thank you, and those are great scholarships. And this the committee we'll look deeper into in collaboration with all the scholars presented here today. And our main goal is to work together to bring a collected work of 6th Dalai Lama into few volumes, whether it will be 6, 7, 8, or whatever. First, drafted that into Tibetan, then we will translate into English, and then into multiple languages. So that will be the main purpose, the mission of this conference, and a great kind of a small offering for the long life of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. And this conference is also the part of the 90th birthday celebration of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. Therefore, I, on the behalf of all the organizing committee, everyone here, the people of Monyul, that whatever the merits we will accumulate by organization of this conference will go to his long life. And may we pray for the long life, and may His Holiness come back to Tawang again in near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Venerable Tulku Tenzin Gyurme Rinpoche. Now, after this, we are going to show a short film on His Holiness the 6th Dalai Lama. And for your information, I would like to tell that this film has been made by Kushagra Kushwaha, an animation filmmaker from Japan. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। ये जापान से आए हुए एक एनिमेशन फिल्म मेकर है कुशाग्र कुशवाहा जी। उन्होंने परम पावन छठे दलाई लामा के जीवन पर ये एक छोटी सी एनिमेशन फिल्म बनाई है और ये हम सब के लिए बहुत ही सौभाग्य की बात है कि आज माननीय मुख्यमंत्री महोदय जो हमारे बीच विराजमान हैं, उन्होंने इस बात पर विचार किया, गौर किया, जो कि आज से 400 साल, लगभग 400 साल पहले एक ऐसे बुद्धिजीवी जिन्होंने इस पावन भूमि में जन्म लिया, जिनको हम धीरे धीरे वक्त के साथ, समय के साथ भूलते जा रहे थे। ऐसे में आपने ऐसा विचार किया और इस तवांग की भूमि को एक बार फिर सुगंधित करने में जो विचार और जो कार्य आप कर रहे हैं, उसके लिए हम तहे दिल से आपका धन्यवाद करते हैं। एंड नाउ मे आई हैव द ऑनर टू इनवाइट eminent scholar and secretary Ganden Fordang, Venerable Yangten Rinpoche for the keynote address, please.
责任对吧？甘典部长给冲击杨定人不去缺去，从对我村别松懈能就。
토마딜라 데르페베 저지 샤츠키는 무시 다나시 당원겸에 키는 무시 아니 설진자한 중국이 겸백이다 온생 다나시 저진 구름 무시다 저지 라수베 전에 파베 긴디지디다 다나시 ngati lenchi zuebe shongda shongde mayimbe interpretive kunde namba dana shi zambli saja kasakani pebe chekeba dang shinjuba sangluwa dana shi de zuhan dinanglu pebe kunde dang ji suyewe inare chamulu la kuizi changzhi dili xueyin.
First of all, my heartfelt greeting goes to Sharzakyan Rinpoche, Abbot of Tawang Monastery, Abbot of Jamit Chogyling Monastery, Rinpoche's Sangam members, and special greeting goes to Honorable Chief Minister and all the dignitaries, scholars, researchers that are gathered here all around the world.
Talui Lundi 사단 제변 조용지 만주변 사시 진부 제대 용조 진가다 진도 공사 장계 진부 더 리카와 파버신에스 미수수宣바 송된 도진 셈바 된질레 시네메나 지진 장변 강원도상 이시딘 장 수송원지 주문묘대 배서모 상부 시행안에 추억이다 공로 구줄로 페베 총거를 송지 쉬베다 고전 게 루치차디 요래 디인장 다 신호고서 정해짐이 주어나 당무의 주회군에 최당 상시 강기天인 저와 차베 더 공기 진주바당 송mar도와 간제지 유의 이날에 총거 공로 구줄로 비비 총거 당 고된 송지 제고에디 계지무차고 성도스.
This year is widely celebrated as the 90th birthday celebration of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama all around the world. Whoever is have connection with His Holiness spiritually, indirect, so any kind of relations that is shared with His Holiness, the true manifestation of our Lokiteshvara, they all celebrated this whole year as the 90th birthday of His Holiness.
다 쇼진의 쇼이나 로만당지 수수수 자유라마 지스 전야당 다디 구충배 뒤된지로서와 근데 가르치와 있나요? 표현 봐도 매봐. 배나 주다 당시规주기 나로를 친진의 진도 천당必须 발휘라 개번 봉도 공부 래 라마 기지 tema 추세지 송도스.
So, spiritually, if we're speaking, to celebrate one's own teacher, one's guru's birthday, make offering to him, all these kind of activities is considered as a resource, a source of infinite number of accumulations of merits. And in one of the Tantra texts, it is written that for eons and thousands of years, if you make offerings to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas with their mystical appearances and so forth, even then, just making a simple offering to your own teacher is more auspicious.
시라도 나란수 더 가와 강진 바당 가와 강진의 주도 차베 민나를 차선바이나 단대내거라 잠블리 딘첸디 강라 표지내당 지라유버디 아니 공기 투지가 된게 원이 중요해서.
In particular, if we talked about the Tibetan people in exile and all around the world, the auspicious and the positive and the development situations that whatever we are in at this moment, it is all due to the kindness of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama.
잠블리 지를 차선바 이나양 단대내거라 장리 지기 내당티 쇼만부진의 대바이나 더 차당 당도 랑네 차당기 시원도 주베 딘제기 거치 차디고 그래서 디거수 더 차당 방배 랑다 양다버 되모부 슌너리 잠블리기 지소디 랑니기 체도 더 신 도지 동대 딘제기 내당지 가수다지 무르되도 유대바 무세되고 유대바 딘제기 지소치 차디고래 디네 거수 아니 신기체도 랑니 류당지시네 딘제기 상류기 가수르다 종들게 좀바 슌들이 딘제기 토네 다 최당 풀의 뒤에 랑되모부 신부지 차디고래스 잠들인디 나오다.
If we look at the whole world at a larger point of view, we can see clearly that the whole world is driven by anger, hatred, and so forth. There is always a huge competition among the world about what should we need first. So the self-care or the self-cherishing comes first. This is a self-centered world at the moment. In such a time, there is a great personalities, a great being that is born and leading us, who is none other than His Holiness, without being self-care or self-cherishing, but with showing the path of how to care and how to provide help and bring maximum benefit to other people.
더 딘제기 나랑 수기 자일라마 슈네리 두런니슈 자지번 디다 장리지 덤버친구 슈네리 디다 고된 송주 슈웨 차셰라 디 차셰라 자오창의 장주 지진지다 제지기 자오창의 장수고의 드링기 소신들이지 소요레 디 시라기 된다 덴버리 상규스 디 인상.
And in such a time, we can call His Holiness our root teacher, our guardian. So in such a difficult time, He is the lone leader that shows light and guide us to happiness and liberation and so forth. And to celebrate such a great being's birthday is a great true honor and a privilege for all of us. So that is why this whole year, which is celebrated as the 90th birthday of the His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, to commemorate that and to celebrate that, this conference titled the International Conference on the 6th Dalai Lama, Yawasang Gyatso, is also organized. And I personally feel that this is a really fitting for the time and something that has a great benefit and meaningful.
Dalengi da jeji rangshingi tsondu chimbudi kuti shukin ngadi shongi chuden lenkanda ndana shingi Tudin Shedling ndana shingi tsubaka shinji je tsubaka songi tone dosi kuti shue banda nambasu kuti shue di karsa warda kuti chatsangwa dan ca tsubo dan dan rusong pame de dangba shunere tinte chijine tenda ke jingbu ji sala ni tinte gi da kuti ja jingbu ji dan pensong suba ji nang tue di la tuji chi xue yin ji si ran shu yu
This international conference is put together and organized by 3 organizations, largely the Churik's Effort Doka Department, Tudin Shedling, and CCRD. And I can see that a huge expenses, and also not only the financial expenses, but a lot of hard work and great planning, and everything has been went into the organization of this conference. And I can see that the conference is well organized. And so I personally appreciate that will be a great benefit for all of us.
다이니마 총두 기다 낭된단 지지진 지카셰지 슈에긴 배선 슈기 녜게지시에딜라 뒤에 니진지 뒤에디 제가요 말했은 것도 좀 보시는 게 컨디션 지금 뒤에 좀 보시보다 그냥 계시에미도 존도 그렇상도 까마카시시니 다이나 간 슈주여버디 슌되여버디 지 슈토버디 지카시 슈에긴 배선 지기.
And now I would like to speak a little bit about that is something related to the theme of the conference. When I asked organizer about whether is there any time limit for my talk, and the organizer said there is no time limit. So, but I have not much to say, but whatever there is, I wanted to say, I will share here.
rinjin sanyi jiangzu guo le shu di gang le ji dang ni de di dan ji ji xin ne jiang wang rin xuan ji yi de ga su re number ta bu shu gu de be de gang de jiao wang rin xuan ji yi de di qu yo re de xie ren zang bu li ji dang yang gui su bie gang jing yu xi de jiao rin xuan pie ji xin ne dan zi bo chi ne jiang bei jiao zhong gi lu ju ji yo re di ji yang si gui ji dang di ne jiang wang ren xuan dang da di kong si la gu re da gang de jiao ren xuan dang pie gang jing ba ni gi bo ru le jin zhe ka yu ba di di ji tu na ji nang gu yue se re.
There is a special spiritual connection between the Dalai Lama institution, all the reincarnations of the Dalai Lama from 1st to 14th, and the people of Tibet in particular. But on a larger picture, the whole world by itself and Tibetan plateau in particular, there is a special bond between the Dalai Lama institutions and the Tibetan people. So this picture or the story that lies behind need to be told, and I'm going to share that.
지당내 상지 존린 대지 더 셰 주문이 누디 가셔지 나로라 파버시네스다 bio 강지머니디 뒤전 뒤지기 저거 투모 많이 보여버디 누디 가서 그래 배먹가보다 안다나 신기 니지 배거다 누디 사마도 고벤도다 안다 주인들에다 마모도 세니기 주인들에 누디 조다兄弟 소다 안다나 신기 공대지 딘주기 나로라 지부다 뭐 마모지 인세샤비 송 나로라 디세디기 도스
if we look at the connection between His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who is the manifestation of the Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion, who rose or came to this world in human form to benefit the Tibetan people, and the spiritual bond between two, the story actually goes much, much earlier than that. We need to know. If we look at the sutra itself, from the very mouth of the Lord Buddha himself, we can find in various sutras, such as the White Lotus Sutras, and also in many tantras, where it is clearly written that predicted about His Holiness coming in the form of, Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion, coming in human form through the reincarnations of Dalai Lama and come to Tibet and to help the Tibetan people. And their spiritual and special bond is clearly written in many of those sutras and texts.
Samato kuwendugi nanglola dindeji sondu sangje nyangilen takemi kosu ta ngegi ngusu ni kasure ta ditube dujeti suteti zobares di inza ani kutsin tushi tangshi ku nyangilen taekin sebati ta kasure di twela body ores di songdi gangla papa sinensi sangje jondindela suota shini ta dinde ku nyangilen taen sewan sewaina maongbala pyo kanjing shindi ani kandes jishini jis kasure 장국에 벽 강정이 신이 뒤져서 간데스 지진이 지선 전국에 디 두캔디 간데스 지오레스 야 간디슈디 간라 딘 뒤에기 개와디 다 상주선의 파바신에서 지나라 파디오레스 벽 강진비 벽 강진본 뒤 님부디라 파바신에서 냥지 차디고레 딘 뒤에기 개와디 다 파바신에서 마도 하나 메디브스르지 딘데다 송구도
In one of the sutras are the direct recorded teachings of the Lord Buddha. So in one of the sutras, we find this beautiful story where Lord Buddha, when he was about to go into Mahaparinirvana, in plain language, when he was about to pass away, and he told the gathering of the disciples that in my lifetimes, whatever the disciples or whoever and wherever the disciples and the students they are that needs to be taught or tamed has been all completed. So therefore, I have finished my tasks as a Buddha. Therefore, I am going into Nirvana. And then Avalokiteshvara, who happened to be one of the attendees among them, told the Lord Buddha, you cannot do that. If you do that, how about the people of Tibet? How about the Tibet people of Himalayas? They're all left behind. Who will guide them? At that time, the Lord Buddha clearly stated that is not my job in plain language. That is your responsibility, you, the Avalokiteshvara, who is none other than the Dalai Lama institutions.
Dana Shingi, Jao Kuti Tambuni Sondi, the Kuti Jushi Patu. Kuti Jusongi Patu Shunere, Yan Kuti Tambuni, Kuti Dimbe Patu, Tindegi Jira, Gui Chingwa, Jimber Peba, Dinangjang, the Papa Shinensi, Gui Nanjuru, Yimbadi, Gadang Libandang, and Dana Shingi, Jijin Damba Shinda, Gesu Susugi, Jijin Damba Shirabu Susugi, Sonang Lola, Mamuchi Tengu, Di, Jawarin Shingi, Tura Nandraki, Dambu Dambu. Go dambo di la saje di la da jushi gang ba tuma kane peba se di sombe kon di gausu da se ushira tweng dos go ju sombe pa ki nang nang lo la siweina.
If we take a glance at the life story of the Dalai Lamas from the 1st to 13th, we can see very clearly that when they talked about the first topic, which is that from where does all of these Dalai Lamas, who are said to be the manifestations of the Chenrezig, came from? And at that very discussion, this discussion about the Dalai Lama being the manifestation of Avalokiteshvara, and that is recorded in many of the sutras and the texts, is clearly written.
배선자고 또 니 들어라 중바 지 쉬바이나 배나 저진 용서 지장 림부치기 낭다른 낭로라 딘디치 쿠엔도 구리 주송바 구마 춘이스 팅시시네다 구마동 샹야디 투딘 케바레 구마동 샹지시네다 구동디 마동 샤베 칸투 샹베 거라다 샤레망 부시라 낭고 구동디 가수 동세 낭로라 샤시시네 쳐서르디수마 쳐세부디수마 된시신다 구동디 신구교로 그래서 딘데기 동서 표지진이 구동 샹베 거라 다 동서 표지지 타마타마디 다 표지 루지하스 루지다 나오 니송중 고요레 타마타마 동서 만부 표지진에다 구 진바디 도스 가수다 강부차용 거로 강도 누교레 다 딘데기 거수 게지기 르바디 강라 신은지 표지 신기자이나 강다 신은지 구이 난주 구 랑选的票社会修行都是的用人之间人不记得就用人民人不记第一做的成效估计就送的成效大家人不记得成效讲人不记困难不输的做行那条的第一下落了用人民人不记得用人之间人不记拉输啊这三个故事的有的他困难不输股东的小区别个了等这些我说接送事情呢难得的
And I wanted to share one of those marvelous and miraculous stories here. His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama and all the Dalai Lamas usually have special tutors, their teachers who taught them when they were young. And His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama has two teachers, a senior and the younger. So Kyabje Tijang Rinpoche has told this story that when the 13th Dalai Lama passed away, his body is decided to be preserved, and so the preservation of the body, it's a long process. It takes about 1.5 years, where all the liquid parts of the body has to be dried and taken out using the salts and so forth. So when many of his close disciples were doing this service and into this preservation of the body project, I can call it project, and Tijang Rinpoche says that at the time when it was most of the flesh and the liquid part of the body has been dried and only the bone part remains, at the backbone there is a very clear picture of the self-origin or self-emanating of one of the forms of Avalokiteshvara.
다 딘데기 가소래 롱당 다 지만 오서지 딘데기 토네 양 투모 마인바 상지미 저베 낭다 딘데 제 요래디 이나양 다 롱기 세망센디 조차교 말했어 조디 템버당 신진라 다 주된 가리 장망장 로 딘주기 된 가리 다 모두 주회군에 가른 제외에 다 뒤조차디 그랬어.
If we look at this kind of predictions that we find in sutras about a spiritual being and Rinpoches and Lamas coming to this world, usually we can find many texts and so forth where these are pre-recorded that describes the arrival of this Lama and so forth. That itself is a great by itself, but that is not the most important thing at the moment. The most important thing that really matters to all of us is what is the benefit and the actual activities that this Lama or the Rinpoche did while he was alive. That is what really matters the most.
다 롱장라教具为呢，到底像牛的操作多，龙基短大明朝你了这样，龙基那样，那么西查吧你去龙点了加呀，样龙明朝别的卡那样，那么西查吧基，你卡苏嘞，龙都准备龙了，我这些啊拉说吧，的别给拿落了，样等着那说新鲜有人。
So in Tibetan Buddhist tradition, we can find that when we come to recognizing a spiritual being, a Rinpoche or Tulku, we often rely on one sources, scriptural sources that is found in the text. But merely relying on a spiritual text and to confirm that is difficult. One reason is that when it comes to a spiritual special text or a line, there are many, many ways to interpret that. So the different interpretations of the same text will lead to different descriptions later. And the same explanation of the text that is attributed to one Lama or the being can be also interpreted for many others. So therefore, these two things tells us that merely relying on a scriptural sources is not the most authentic one.
다 이나 양 우에 내출라 맞추 제용디 강라 맞추 창매 네버도 다케 랭고야 케 만레랑링 지 내당지 가려 쉬어이나 벼 강진지 신도 통머 다 벼지다 추신이지 다 우방디 양도 추용 지진에 우방 다 신도 다른 거디 주제면 농송기 거 차디고래 취재와 송생 강부 내송디现在电影地讲了的취재和송생 강부 표 강진의 신도 상제지 때문에 통마 우주의 가도 라양 파워신에서 꾸이 넘버 지기다 상제의 취 우주 지진에 다 도시 지진에 비 취딩지 신강 자침부터 된듯이 중요하래 다 바도 표 나로라다 뇽다 침부지 중지진에 강들 상제지 때문에 나를 다 취재주 거니 주샤버디 가서 그러다 다 냥스라고 그러게 다 강데 딜러 바체 중치시네 템바 시다르스요레 강데 템바 베트 표간지 신도 타는베 라종가 미기디 라종기 나사경이 진짜 미기 통지메데 딘데기 내당지 차버레 디거수 상제지 템바야 냥수 지행기 다 사양 답이 동ken디 단데 내걸 쉬어 있는 템바 파르타스 지시네 로 바더스 지신 러주고 미루 간던 중년 재현 중년기 상지지 템바 답이 동야 도시지 중요래 다 중년 재현 중년디 파워신에서 있고 있는 주인버디 누기 나로라 다양 무수 중대버지당 하나 주메스로 차디고 그랬어 타마 단데 내걸라 다 별라 다 뒤로 고주와 된대기 거수 시작이다 벼제그 토지지네 양세 친구 중벌에다 단대 내걸라 벼제그 차상 또 쇼시신 주진이 딩기지 그디 용수도 쇼르치시네 내다 신도니다 냐차부 냐차슈 된대기 내당 차요 디거수양 다 벼강진비 권당教당 다 다유미로 다유미슬러위너리 고베니슬러너리다 강들 나수 저저서디 벼메만다 냥도 쇼시시네 두분들의 정배 가도딜라 자주서디 자위신의 구지 주시부터 차디고 그랬어. 다 공양지 파워신에서 있고 있는 줄 딘데지 다 된진 제배샤는 때가 있나요? 로 딘데지 차연디 강라 벼 강진배 다괴디 파워신에서도 지선지디 딘데기 야츠배 내당지요. 진제주 그랬어.
If we look from another angle to this spiritual connection between Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the number of reincarnations, we can look at the history of three parts: in the beginning, in the medieval period, and the later or the current period. Tibetan Buddhism flourished in Tibet around 7th to 8th century during the three Dharma kings led by King Songtsen Gampo. And there are numerous indications and the proof which tells us that King Songtsen Gampo is none other than one of the manifestation of Avalokiteshvara. And in the medieval period, Tibet faced a great difficulties in terms of the flourishing of Buddhism. There was even a moment where there is not even a sight of Sangha members, monks and the nuns in their Sangha robes that are not to be seen in Tibet. So Tibet also saw such a dark period where Buddhism almost degenerated in Tibet. Even during that time, the main person who became the main source of revival of Buddhism during that period, is Tromden Gyebe Chongne. And Tromden Gyebe Chongne is also clearly proved that he's none other than one of the manifestation of our Lokiteshvara. And then we have the number of the reincarnations of the Dalai Lama from 1st to 13, and who have been the main sole protector, guide, and the leader, father of all the Tibetan people. And even after 1959, when Tibetan people saw such a difficult phase of time, coming into exile and so forth, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama was, in Tibetan, what we say, the eyes to see and the heart that keeps us alive. So he is the main. So this all tells us that the Avalokiteshvara to form in different human forms to benefit and to reveal the strong bond between Tibetan people and Avalokiteshvara.
디레샤 다 시라도 야오 창의 장수 고디 미세 만당이 시우지 차용구도 야오 구tin rinxuan 지 제바 신당 가서다 신도네 민다왔는데 미세기다 내당 시우지 차용구도 그래서 디 당가랑 수기 다 지조 나로라 용스 차대바 등 퇴대바 디시샤 지와이나 미세 차대기 오래 세상 근데 인상 다 야오 창의 장수 고디 아주 간데스 시시네 딜러 신주 최고교래 간데스 시시네 야오 창의 장수 고이 넘버 타발라 다 제고교래스 또 상당히 디강라 다 지당니 아주 미지 지당기 미 지인바이너레 다 구역이 내당딜라 가서 신앙 상송기 내당 지 용디기 거다 가서 되모도 강 낭토의 지당 양지 상매기 낭토의 마인베 디기角落기 내당 메다오지 양 가르서 거다 상회 내수스라 고거베다 지 딘데기지 림바순르지 지당기 미순르지 나이디 용기 어라스다
Among the many reincarnations of the Dalai Lama, so among them, the 6th Dalai Lama, Yawatsang Gyaltso, is a special one, is a different one, is a mystical one. So very, very different from the rest of the Dalai Lama. And so how are we going to look at his life story? How are we going to do research on the works of 6th Dalai Lama? That by itself is a great challenge and responsibility. From speaking from another point, there are three different ways or three different ways to look at a person's life story, especially when it comes to someone like 6th Dalai Lama. One is the outer appearance that can be seen by everyone, ordinary people, what we see, what we experience, what we hear, and based on that, what we judge that person. Second thing is there is something behind that which is much more inner self to that person, which may not be directly revealing to us. That is the second aspect of that great person. And then there's one secret aspect of that person whom none of us know. So when we are going to do research on such a great being, we have to remember that all of these three phases or the spheres of his life has to be taken into account.
넘버 3제베 로라 시샬라 리송샤기오레 참에 진세 지 통운도 주비 주지 무송도 강 통토에지 다 통운도 마줄나야 지 가서 우리 치마다 다다 능줄라 띠네 지 바고야기 딘데기 시제기 좀 뭐지 양지 다다 치마다 능줄기 군에지 죄바치마도야기 지부츠미 롱당 간다 나츠마 바실을 때네 시괴 근데지 리송 송교를 했어.
In Buddhist philosophical tenets, if we talked about, look at the things from Buddhist philosophical way, things or anything that is existing in this world, they are broadly categorized into three broad divisions. So the first thing is what we call evident things, something that we all can see, something that we all can hear, taste, and so forth, that is in front of us, such as the color, shape, or anything that is visible to us. And then there is a second layer of things that are slightly obscure, that may not be directly perceivable for us, but we may have to use reasons and the logics and the science to know that thing. That is the second level of the existent. And then there is a third level, which is completely obscure and super obscure, that needs spiritual ways to understand or to see it.
단다 넘버 2 구디 추종에 슈리 제샤베 자와 찬양 장수 가서 우리 신주기的로직이 주차디수 수쇼디 제샤베 샤디 두지도 디 가서 가르기다 튜그 장부 딘데진 제송 디 낭로라양贵山都 강的자와 찬양 장수 장왕기 칠了 폐시지네 都是南有的강들 가서래다 야와 창의 장수 장왕기故意 청와라 我们密切跟가봐 자긴 수르지 다 양 장왕기 구친了 가自己的 대바지되긴 딘데기你有大算没到有的的的주제 뒤소 나로来全底下但现在딘데기 계제 시당 다 나수어시 용구요래 다 가르시는 마신들이 다기 공도 쉬어나신 시당 나수어시여 있나야 내당면도 좀送딘데 중대교래 但알아서 외내 수랑라 대바이나 지가 상물을 튀난도 주대 취지를 가서 대바이나
I saw in the conference, the backgate that is given to me and all the speakers, that there is a thick book drafted by the organizing committee, which has a collection of the different articles, texts, and so forth, and related to the 6th Dalai Lama. And in one of those texts, it is clearly written that the 6th Dalai Lama, when the time for his official enthronement came, to recognize him as the reincarnation of the 5th Dalai Lama and as the true 6th Dalai Lama, there is two different aspects or different views. The first one is that he is properly recognized and given the due recognition in Tibet. And also there's another way of saying that he was not given the due respect and recognition that he deserved. So whatever the case, there will be many, many ways and angles to look at one thing. But what we really see and what we really experience is the fact.
딘데기 쇼니기 다수 mendawa 가수 수요와 이날에 양지 가수 그래 꾸이 청와라 원세 마슈키스라고 그러베 딘데기 다수디 가수지 다 쇼치중 가수 유명한 마드베 가수지 유여와 이나양 별미망게 생긴 나로라 별지용기 별미망 지차네 상면이 생긴 나로라 양 구지 주었을 니간라 구지 주어人心 상의 장수에지 마도 하나 매대로서지 그 뒤뒤기 장왕기 칠어야贵下위 구지 신다디 다 하나 매망 그 최도 다자연 괴명이 소리지 단대 내가를 드린다고지 통되기도스.
So there are different ways that we can see in the text and also the scholarly works that this is recognized and this is not and so forth. But if we look at what really the fact is that in the hearts of all the Tibetan people, there is no such discriminations. And when people hear or say or experience or think about the 6th Dalai Lama Rinchen Tsang Gyatso, it is common that nobody even doubts or have any kind of doubts regarding that, whether that is the 6th Dalai Lama or not. So that is a common thing that matters most. And also in the common, what should I say, people in Tibet, none of them really understands that there is even such a dispute that existed.
다 단대 내거를 만세베 거 뒤뒤랑기 자와 상의 장수 去了修行吧，当修行被告诉是牛着在查无差别，第一个给年当提出来我说但这个主角那路越不能行，修忙不进的，大对讲了但修干那大越不应该我说大过越的，因第难路了就那最不都对不社会修习的但家伙常也吃了嘛，跑呀当，这个年当是用的个越的高对对去与。他的情感能落了，电视节目能送in的，但他是没忙in不in的，这个托呢，教育学当当，卡数嘞，台北学当当，高阶当的出色的、测试的哈嘞的东西，空吃了泡呢多什么电子学呢都得讲了，但这帮的他你是啥子因啥的，卡了另外是电把另测因那些另外是个都提清楚，我多少也运气了，你他上看去。妈咪当，但讲的叫我参与讲述，卡说大多期跟个入卡第一喇叭呢，说普甚至个跟对不出，这帮个家庭铺上的也修，多数修别高了，但甚至卡说跟对不偏起修就对起型，但这上卡些蛮多呗，修就偏起么对起型呢，你跟对不的谈这个，那这当下下来的是，但讲完，卡说的早呢。自己几个没事情呢，说了嘛，都把自己几个没事情呢，那些当下下边的事情呢，第国际讲是为让的进步嘛，可能让那必须全部都真实的。
And this kind of the disagreement or the topic that we're discussing, we're not talking about today's time. Even during that time when Yawasang Gyatso was enthroned, and there was this issue of when he was dethroned, and I don't remember exactly the name of the place, but somewhere around Drebong and Serra. And when the Hassan Khan and his team and the army came to arrest Yawasang Gyatso, the monks of the Serra and Drebong came together in full force, in full unity to protect the life of Yawasang Gyatso. And there's also very clearly, this is listed in the biography of Kunye Jain Shaba, that the monks even took oath and they swear that even if it comes to the life of their own, but they will not hand over the 6th Dalai Lama Yawasang Gyatso to Lasang Khan.
但因那样，西南的金芒不当，你拉上看的马当，第一角落了各队队的将那个民主节约，听这个崩修的多年，那个马他说的，都没个学了嘛，听这学过骗过的恰有的是。
But unfortunately, due to that times the power, and all the atrocities and so forth, so due to many of those unfortunate reasons, so His Holiness has to be gone to the Domei region of Tibet.
但因那样，谈的那个了，俺上去记住南路了，年当抗越不定节约的讲了，就当你上街爬爬当，爬青，说当被南头南路了，通推真日的，你团定的，主要那团定的结巴是定这个结巴是用个要来的说，但叫我参与讲说，古冲，公办两个人点呢，但好像路送家，给我定的是恰在要的，但但因那样。特别去做的，但地上的嘛是为江南给去做的，但阶级给去做个可有个难路了，叫我常来讲去，但成长期间主要团且听这个通对真实的，他说团体的这个听这个这个机，他说且到底他说是我在对分阶级有对不起。
It is said that a great being merely by his name can benefit a lot of sentient beings. And this is true with His Holiness the 6th Dalai Lama. So even today, not only in Tibet, but also in China, all the Himalayan regions, and all over the world, the mere name of 6th Dalai Lama Yawasang Gyatso brings great peace, love, and happiness to millions of people.
但别说多多的训练也是嘞，但你也查了的。从对的那几个家国的事情，送对讲了，就最喜欢当些些呢，新旧的就切提出这的洛阳嘛讲的，你呢只有点点看些了，跟着点点学习些呢，给这点用的讲了， 재미 무시와 딘데를 계제 딘데 지바이 자나기 지속이 나로라 자와 창의 장수를 따당 간대요. 그래서 가주시다 자와 창의 장수 기 천디 가서 그래 처치중 쉬고 그래 어디 간다고 지요. 그래서 쉬디간라 쿠란 투마 카두디 다 쿠란기 자와 창의 걸로 챙기도 이내야 가수시 처치중 여바당 디조랑상 쉬면도 쿠란시 대시 림피인 송고도 디네 니마 카시 니마 지지 니지라 어다디페 쿠란기 루이랜드 상발레 딘데랑다 요 말의 상수디 자나기 지수 장랑 카라 자와 창양기 구루당 창양 장수는 지에 제주당 창양 장수기 다 구치기 낭다는 지에 다 시바 나수가 딘데베 장가쯤이 되시도스 마세베 자나기 바준 칸딘데 나로라 데 샤데 진바 이나야 데수기 넘버 민다와 바준 가소레 비딩기다 디셈민다와 데기 넘버 민다와 양지 죄자 랑기 토니야 민다와 딘데기 에진민다 하나 잘하스도스 자스도스 장가 단다 유심하디 딘데지 쿠란기 다디강다 딘데지 동안도스 아니 쿠란기 상수라 베벨라마치기 나네 자나나로라 자나기 다 가속을 투선에 마사슈고레다 미망 트레라 지당기 미망기 트레라 지 자와 창의 장수라 도나 유여바당 인유여바 딘데기 세시 유에디긴데 하나 유에서 말했어 인다 수지 유에서 말했어 자와 창의 장수라 디 가속 인다 도나 유여바 낭신지 딘데 차디시 그래서 딘데 인상 딘주 다 쇼지네 도나 지역이 수수수 디미 주진민다오 요르디 자와 창의 centu 낭들은 이제 양면은 고루루 디주네 원의 주베군에 벽이 낭취라 탄일은 누구도 가시의 무수 벽이 낭취라 도날레 용구도 가시의 무수 취장한 용구도 그래서 딘데기 토네 원의 주베군에 가서 그런 루덴 지혜당 생진낭기 생규주라 탑에사면 떠야디 시라기 다 자지 무시우시 다 가서 랑상 자치 좀 되네 지어세기 슈망투에 내기 자치 무시회사레스
When I am invited to come to this conference, in the short period of time, I couldn't really read or do a lot of research on the sixth Dalai Lama. However, one thing I did was I tried to contact some people within mainland China, tried to get an idea about how popular the sixth Dalai Lama is in China. And when I contacted that individual himself is someone who has some knowledge about the sixth Dalai Lama, but then he said, give me some time, I will do some research and get back to you. And later when he get back to me, he was actually surprised by the amount of interest that are in China, mainland China, regarding the sixth Dalai Lama. For example, he's the only spiritual Tibetan Buddhist leader that is revered highest and gets the highest respect and attention is none other than the sixth Dalai Lama. So this tells us that his songs and the poems, even though they are in verse form and song and so forth, they also do immense benefit to the Buddha Dhamma in general. Through listening to the poems of sixth Dalai Lama, many people become Buddhist and they practice Buddhism because of that. So that all we can see that all from all these angles, whatever the aspects of even a small aspects of a great being can be of immense benefit to the whole world.
쇼진의 장창양기 다구지 가사 공루 유지중화 된지 질러 폐지진이 디질라 장왕기다 제가 좀 거에 디 가수래 마장바 지지진에 또다시 다 뒤슈 비주었다고 그래 강들지 다진 동생을 수바단 된지 된기 주어다 운다부지 코르지진에 슈유에서 된지 시행이 용구요디 이내양 가서 뒤에 용구요에 상연낭들 단다 지유되어 뒤낭로라 제와이나 자와 창양기 다 왕노 저 명아치 다 나신기 롱라 수바 딘데 더 슈에기 모르스라고 그래 마녀딘 제용디 간라 야와상야기 딘데 나야기 뒤세자 중아유나 상상수르지 도디 장벌을 진제용디 간라 베나 간주르기 다 미시지 나올라 간주르기 장농 디마니 슈세지나 미지 깔레 가보러 간주 장농 지슈디 간라 농탈라인 다오 지당 시원 다오 송시레 가신 다오 nga 중국 예 요래 아니 딘데 인상 공기 상연낭도 나올라 간주르 장농 디마 송슈바다 지디다 타마디 시간 잡지 인사래 간데 니의 시간 딘데시 간주 지부기 장농 딘데시 쉬샤 디 마인베다 추진 나수가 쉬우지 장가 마부 쉬우지도디 다디 뒤쇠디 왕지 쉬발라 뒤쇠 같이 고고를 시징 아주 진짜 자와이나 디상 자요로 jadi jawa changyang la ji ukhor ji shuye ge duse ge chung ayuna kasu chung yena ro
and Jawa Changyazo, who was enthroned at such a young age of 13 and 14 years old, such a young boy who was enthroned, and then later he lived a life of common life as a common citizen that is widely known all over the world. But then there is another biography called a secret biography of His Holiness the Changyazo. In the secret biography, we can see that he received the oral transmissions of the 100 volumes of Kangyur 2.5 times. So if I made it clear, in Tibetan Buddhist tradition, there is often a system of receiving the oral transmission where the master reads verbally all the pages of a text. And Kangyur, each volume has about 1,000 pages that runs into 100 volumes. Normally, it takes about 4 to 5 months to receive them. And the 6th Dalai Lama received that 3 times. And even also many other initiations and so forth. So if we calculate the time that he spent on these practices that is written in that secret biography, then we get a feeling that His Holiness the 6th Dalai Lama may have no time to do worldly things.
딘데지레샤 다 간더 지당니 라민 넘버 타버디 지당기 루줌하고 추기 신주 제당기 랑가디 나네 신주 제주 유대비 내당지 이미 하국민도 说 대바당 이체당 딩인신세당 신乐세당 디수제디 루주기 랑가네 시주에 버지 이나미나 간다 다 바딘 다와다베 송기 나로라 딘데 지요레 지딘레 지딘바니 로 넘버 탄제든 지딘레 데바니 넘버 탄제도 아니 지딘바다 총바리기 말했어야지 딘데 송요레스
And also, I'm not really sure that when we do research or study the life story of a great spiritual being, whether that can be completely done through as a normal research or an academic research could do. In the spiritual being's life story, there are often many important things such as blessings, the spiritual connections, and the faith and devotion, and all of those has to be also taken into account. So therefore, I'm not sure about how much a plain, purely non-spiritual connected research could be of benefit to this. And one of the scholars, Palden Dawatagba, he wrote in the text that the one who are beyond this world, their life is not at all connected or related to who are attached to this world.
아니 지딘베 미지 키지지네 지딘렌 대발라 도스 다가침바이나 디다 수수낭신지 통교의지르마도 된오마디 통통교의지 말했어.
And a worldly person with your own worldly eyes can only get a vision or an insight that is judged from your worldly side. You will not be able to get the full and the pure insight that is beyond your eyesight.
레디다 딘두기 루주마오 츠 루주시베 가올라 더지 가소거래 당시스라고 그러베 신주 간테스 시고 루주 간테스 시고 세디 송용데 간라 데데 송구도 다 나랑 루주 마오다 말에 안주기 니디리 간라 디 쇼니가 니다고 그랬어 두쇼다 가쇼니가 니다고 그랬어 디 마데바이나 모에네스 가르 임바디 수순 되베 지지시네 야부지 통도고 말했지 디 송구도 디 게지무시라레 레디 쇼진이 딘데기 배 신주 쇼니가 니 때지시네 다 쇼간에 가수스타에 유베이나레 딘데지기 돈 따디가나 모여내주 지 빠추기 차상오다 간다 모여내주의 타 니워지 딘데기 내당지 통투에기 고거디 마오 유버다 시험고 버렸어 다 이나양
I'm not a modern researcher, academician, or a historian, but I heard from others that when you do a proper research, one need to take into account both stories, the stories from the both sides, and one has to be unbiased. Then only then you can find the true fact. But having said that, there are also a lot of those, what should I say, about a great spiritual person's life that may be beyond those.
낭중 가서 츠만낭리 죄디 강라 슈르리 바침비 딘데지 송구도 디 공바 시에 시 띵서우 요레 상구도 지비 제베가라 지비 시에베가라 나츠마 자오니요 말이스 지 나기 차셰 시라발라 지 된망추어딘데 가 된기 차셰 카셰라 마추어딘데 요한 요르디 이나야 나 리불라 치마 세지 자오니 요 말이스 가르슬라나 지부 제뱅하디 지불라 템버리 지부 모기요레 지부 디 차당기 상다 템버리 차당디 생기랑 신의 슈버리 세상 뒤 나양 나 치마디 연구 말이스 이송구도
One of the non-Buddhist school that is found in India in the early times, they have a beautiful saying, is that a person or a human's speech can never be completely accurate or a valid speech. The reason is that human is actually made up of or full of delusions such as anger, hatred, jealousy, and so forth. And whatever they think, whatever words come from their mouth is often contaminated by those thoughts that are behind the person. So therefore, some of the part of the speeches may be correct and unmistaken and true, but the whole speech of an individual human can never be completely accurate.
딘데지레시아 세상디 디조 다 공부시에 요래 상구도 다 창야 장수긴 구루고디 다 타마디 구루규고디 다 구루디 시라 다 망추라 저저 친구시라 이모다 참에 친친바래 나라이네 춘중거라 자오 창야 장수 구루 신다기 하고금에 창야 장수긴 구루 이마야 시기메 디 창야 장수 구루 레스지지 가수 롱베 나로라 시 무죄 징에게 만종이네 부즈 가나로라 가수당 나치서디 다 리당 가수를 리당기다 사대와디다 타니 부차디고 그래 세상 딘데기 차니이나 샤디 총총 가부 휴쟁알래야다 타리 장라민들 리당권의 내용세디 디 자와 계산 장수 총야디리스 롱도 리당기 다 리당 견배기 상다랑들이 딜로 총야기 롱데리스 딩고루디 구디유스 다 드레기 처침부지 차디고 그래 다나생긴 고루기 신 고루 신다디 수제 처침부 시라를 다 드시양 자당 시수 다 두나 내용디 간라 드시 자당 나바 나수 버치렌도
So my last part of the talk is on the poem or the songs of the 6th Dalai Lama. And myself I'm born in Litang, the part of Tibet. And even when I was young in the monastery, I didn't even realize that this poem, this verse, were actually of 6th Dalai Lama. Nobody even explained to us that this verse and the poem were actually of 6th Dalai Lama. But many popular verses, particularly the one which says, "O white crane, lend me your wings, I will come back after making a round trip round trip is a modern word, round trip to Litang. So, so this is such a famous poem, and so for there are many other verses, which are not even, which I didn't even realize they were actually belonging to sixth Dalai Lama.
다 사연 장수 고루디기 가르 송교였어. 다 지당기 지dengi 가서다. 친구 부모기 저어지 송교어베 양디기 된다 신다지 넘버 디제 디 저로네 거두디기 표기 지속 년당의 송교어베 양나 디기 넘버 디 지든 가서다. 지든 신배기 당디제 넘버디 디제 디기 저종디 다 취량능기人버디 송교어베 가르 송교어레스 디 민다오 용구도아.
And so what are the poems of the sixth Dalai Lama really explains or show us? Are they merely the romantic bond between the young people, or physically they may be talking about romantic things, but behind that it may be talking about the political situation of Tibet at that time? Is that so? That is a question. Or at the behind scene, was it something much more than that, which talks about the spiritual things? So this is a question mark.
다 모여내 수라 남준 다 비차워지 인바이나 용다리 신유지긴지나 배치를 투주 요래 상것도 스만난적이 나로라 지 다스에 다트버스 다스에다 다스에 로 주식이 다스에 디주제디기 죄제 가르때 만든세에 딜라 지당기 차네 그 죄제 니버 진세 주요디 이나야 넘버 탕제된 니버 요 말이스 다스에디 준되지 지선 로르마도 크기 된디 센디장의 니버세 자원이 요 말이스 그래서 내 인상 상제 중딩되게 송기 나로라야 지된 나로라 자베 신도 말어 가소래 다시 쓰고래다 말어기 찌든데 베지 땅지지네 아니 신도 마다베 된서 못된데 된야 디 누이 거스양 동안이기 나로라 누이 거스양 나서버지오래다.
If you are a Buddhist philosopher, someone who has some understanding of Buddhist Buddhist scholar, or you are a researcher, you will know that when it comes to what we call word or phrase, the sound, so this word, they carry a meaning behind that. But the meaning is not always what the sound actually carries. So it always depends on the person who is behind the person that speaks, and his intention really defines the meaning of the actual word. For example, even the Lord Buddha himself, if you look into his sutras, there are also various examples of these things. For example, using very common and harsh words, but behind that there is a huge different meaning. For example, one of the sutras that is instructed to Angulimala is that the fathers and the mothers are to be killed. So the very direct meaning actually tells that your parents are to be killed, but behind that lies a much, much deeper meaning, which is totally different from the word itself.
아니 나기 거수다 딜레장 나기 자유주 베나 배상원들이 자주 다버실을 차츠가 있는 자준지 용디강라 잡아낭지 지 다이 다트벤 주당디 시샤 제신의 디지비 투네 넘버 탕제든 지투고 말했은 제요 말했어 디 타주 취시군인 지구구리스 배된당 아니 예된당 지된당 타투기 된라 소바당 딘데지 지신이 다 강들 지디낭로라 레세 디기 서디라 마레세기 지기토네 제세기 된다디 된라 라소바 다 강다 가소리 잡아낭라 자원의 마다베 다티수 비제 당내 된성무디수 된되는 연구도 있어서 디수리 디차되기도.
The one that we just described is actually comes from what we call the logics or the Pramana Sutra part. But when it comes to the higher, that is the Tantra, particularly among them, Guhya Samaja Tantra, which is one of the highest, most secret Tantra practice text, it says that when it comes to explain and understand certain words or the phrases of the root tantra text, we cannot rely on the word and the meaning that tells us itself. It needs to be investigated from 6 different sides, 4 different ways, and so many other ways to try to get the exact meaning of this word. For example, sometimes the mere word yes can actually mean no, and the no can mean yes, and so forth.
大讲的叫我参与讲述修理通不讲的修这些呢，去前你家进步都是那样的，用这多呢，你的number 是的，没问题。但因那样修理通不讲的修呢，去家进步的，马 number 因那样，number 现在这个多呢，去家进步修的呢，送下去，用越的没的，这样，告诉我的，公不习惯去，故意让就没得有多呢，去家进步送下，他那些。我给让就没到几个图呢，用这个去让当个 number 的满一百几个图呢去加起么送呀，他那些就图了就公用的讲了去端当个什么的 number 别的没到几个图呢去加起么送呀，等这些告诉我的 number 一呢，就让就有的问题，上节中间的让你已经都给让落了，别呢你这边嘛搞很多让落了，少休息，全个都按上节个。 冲热给囊得的说囊落了样，这个别转给囊得，好像给马不多，别呢只是结果这个，你对看多了上这个，你这块看着金钱的，你对我结吧，现在地到这个中等这马不多了，他对水面上当不起为那别转的学人的，他得学个面子，那么。
The Javatsangyaso, of course, didn't give teaching like other Dalai Lamas or the great master, but sitting on a high throne. But he might have done the same teachings through a different aspect and different manner. That is something which we have to think. So when it comes to giving teaching, it can be done through different aspects, different physical aspects, different speech, and so forth. Even if you look at the Lord Buddha himself, in one of his manifestations, not really manifestation, but in order to give teaching to one particular musician, a king at that time, who was full of pride, Lord Buddha himself take the form of another musician to tame that person. So that is a different physical form that is taking and doing the job of giving teaching. That can be seen, the same can be applied to the 6th Dalai Lama as well.
他懂提了，刚才咱们领地卡嘴的，卡说的。 처음에 사디라 다 장왕기 챙기 처디고 그래 장왕기 챙기 같이 살아 자와 차인 장수기 챙기 처디고 그래 장왕 차인기 챙기 같이 살아 콩라 도나다 디주네 뭐도 주베군에 다 가수 그래 다 타버도 단지 준비 쇼라 야지 가 쇼시시네 로야기 딘데기 넘버치 제도스现在딘데 인상 다 단데 내거라 但是南部出去龙吧，美语搞的节目中是算是北中是吧？北语节目中是送我龙本地南路呢，冲北咱们用是差的呗，但等这个记不记票的，但的空叫我参讲述差的个的，但的南部出去龙本地没的，是他懂等着几个下一途径。
And so I wanted to conclude with the thing saying that wherever the earth or the world spreads, the fame and the teachings of the His Holiness, the Dalai Lama reaches. And wherever the Dalai Lama's teaching reaches, the Javatsangyaso's teaching and the fame also reaches, which is a great source of benefit and happiness for everyone. And Tawang, which is known as the secret hidden paradise. From here, a child is born whose fame spread to all over the world. And I will conclude here. Thank you.
반대 간대 부장기 총지 양대 르부치 초라 토제낭 슈주탕 디네 저리 제바 로 셰바 로덴 남리라네 제와 창 자소 되베 고시에 불람 슈주
Thank you very much, Venerable Yangten Rinpoche. And after this, I would like to request a famous opera singer, Loten Namlingla, who has been visiting Tawang for last many years, and this time especially for this program. Loten Namlingla, please, I'd like to welcome you on the stage, and he is going to perform a homage to His Holiness the 6th Dalai Lama.
Put this a little bit here. This is the sound of the cuckoo, kuyuk. Can I take this? Yeah, no, it's okay. So, have you seen the film Wisdom of Happiness by His Holiness Dalai Lama? In the beginning, His Holiness says, take a deep breath and let it go. That's how the film begins. Most Honorable Chief Minister Bima Khandula and Deputy Minister Yangten Rinpoche, and there are so many amazing, especially the people of Mönpa. I'm so happy to be here, and since I have come here to sing, I just want to, before I sing, I want to say something. This is very important. When I was a little boy, in our school syllabus, there's this book, My Land and My People. And in that book, there's a picture of His Holiness standing with 4 or 5 members in front of the Korsam children. So when I saw this picture, I fell in love with this amazing moment. And I had this deep, deep wish. I can really say this. I'm not just saying this to impress you, but I had this deep wish. I remember that if I can ever one day go to this place and to meet the people. And today I'm here in front of amazing people and amazing Mun Yul. I received a call from Modi ji, and he told me, Lodena, please write something about not just the songs of His Holiness Dalai Lama, the 6th
Dalai Lama, but also your first experience. So this song is particularly about that, and I hope you will enjoy it. And I'm so honored. I'm a little bit nervous. Nam le sa chu pe son nga da cham pa the le sim le po lan son朱熹登真雅座，小苏拉克别当上，特别遗忘了初衷，特别遗忘了初衷，中途过3年了，人对人别当上。朱熹来往，等着了总把了学生，等着总把了学生，门下门结缘，世界界那三中，你来了当上下呢，门女做了对。做了陪，当个不行，门雨淋了顶的，擦呀啦呀子门雨，下雨来呀子吧，擦呀啦呀子门雨，下雨来呀子。제대 세기 면출 겸바 세득 두개 천명 안에 잡을 작샷 나서 면바 하자 It gets stuck.
Loden namla thojen nang ti che ge zerin gobati aruna janga ti jide blunjin kusho pema kantu choaki rige lawe choktu choaki zenangwe yewa chang ja zu sungpung gi nang thung tang ju che ze xie yewa chang ja chu la tianbe dongchu bu zu ki gor xie be zamchu wo chi nang ju.
Well, thank you very much, Lobsang Tenzin Namgyal, for that beautiful performance. Now, after this, a beautiful book will be released by Honorable Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh, and for that, I would like to request Venerable Rigya Lava Rinpoche to please come on the stage, because he has written this book exploring the collected works of Gyava Tsayang Gyatso and newly composed Tongchö and Gyava Tsayang Gyatso. Venerable Rigya Lava Rinpoche, please come on the stage. And for your information, this is the collected works of Gyava Tsayang Gyatso. Next year, that is in the year 2026, Venerable Rinpoche will be bringing out this book in English version. And in that book, many of the writings of Gyava Tsayang Gyatso himself will be included. Rinpoche's book, maybe please bring that book. Rinpoche's some now depchit rot nas dozo. Because we are in shortage of time, so without wasting much of our time, I would like to request Honorable Chief Minister, sir, to please address the gathering before releasing the book, please.
어루자나디 지접lun치 구셔 빼마 칸투 초아키 총두 오치당 지외 송셰 능주
한기 상무시 다시 들려니 주요 대대시 하당 monlumbu Tawanga terchamunuda utso international conference nyoso this nadak na junne marsu dadesh nada chondi atambasi khame ojo godi sudumbur da so da uts international conference ojo Tawanga sukkuidong yumzen chiti dotna adangko organizing committee ko chairman tenyu rimchilasi itang bagam base terchamnu dajebiya nang da utsu ojo tsukoso yumzen chiti minangda 다 또왕요소 메나다 직중에 남나 nombre 저희의 메나 남아다 본 nombre 다 사지디 혼나 사지들 전문 남아다 본 nombre 신들의 일레 락쇼 다 게바 저왕 겨소 뇨지티 하당 먼 또왕아 퉁우니 다 또메 티혼은 다직 또메딘 요요디게 nombre 신들의 우 퉁우소 아당바시 구둔디 캡다 약대우 노남 좀링나의 오조 여바 세양겨도 또왕아 먼루바 퉁우니에 가제삭간우 노남 이 민욱 가당 개와 생겨서 룩규르주당 구든디 노남 이주코르다 우스 인터내셔널 컨퍼런스 오조 수굴라 수고이동 줌전지디 이쪽을라디 임불 다음에나 망보가 다음에나 우스 인터내셔널 컨퍼런스 오조 죽삭 주고 다도나 텐유름실라시 나고 플리랑 임불 다 이제 주고미나다 이스 가보고 기답비에 퍼블리셔 임불 볼륨 나간나가 조건라지 수임불 이 작불에 이 할입니다. that sakche official version adang ko 6 Dalai Lama ko kitab malabda nakanaka bena volume nakanaka di rainbow ida halimdi official recognition halimdi tabjik tonga ta us conference ojo arrange la di yadumbur ta this us conference kamina attend kan itang hanyenai ojo zinakti bi chigek sul pepkanne surangdi nombur it minuta wadang jagar ke menang da research scholars 산예 오조 주랑디 오조 펩낭고 nombre 다 노골톨 다 오조 아당 그 텐유름체 베낭 오조 institution 가 오도 단 알랑 순나 evening 싹 가보 오도 다 sessions various sessions nombre eminent speakers 나 아당 브레카 야 페부 nombre 빌바시다 오도 칼랍 나임브 베닥 viewpoint 6 Dalai Lama 코르제 임불 대접을 다 줌전지디 니 땅티 땅서 주메다 다드삭면다 6 Dalai Lama 콜다 기답에 주랑디 nombre 6 Dalai Lama 녀제다 베낙 메시지 dercha모는 mysterious 탑디 nomber다 이제 다음에나 나간다가 담에 nomber다 이잡을다 강제다 우스 가보 international conference 오게다 discussion 디야에 강제 담에랍 시티 다 broad understanding 디다 구둔디 노남 가야가 여고남 이스다메나 할림디 죽디 실라디 임불 it minuku tawadangda His Holiness Institution 다면ang adang ko 14 Dalai Lama data geoseng gezo data ojo menang adang 14 Dalai Lama imbur it minuk da adang monlupunin adang ko His Holiness adang benak institution tepka adang monlupunang menang da nanak chunna adang damzi namnaladi nombur saun tawang gannan namyel hatse 건부소 menangda kunun ngapajiki khamme mena ojoda jenggoso gyumjanjiti gaposu hinu nombur kunun that 6 Dalai Lama ji da monlumba tungu gimbur it minuku da mena 14 Dalai Lama bot badnie marphib kosachi ada monlumbu ta da marphibu de imbur da also significance tawdi nombur or the geopolitical significance nombur uchogon international conference ti ada monlumbu가 죽고있던 gyumjanjiti sinyenine 다 좁아 다면ang다 일바 가보시 가는 기노직다 임불 다면ang 요미시 dercha 무노미낭티 즉 쫄린니 야드메다 다 이제 아당고 His Holiness 갖고 다 죽부면ang 계획지티 요미나에 다초ည 답디야 이 작불에 이 지금 이렇게입니다 미니오래 이제 다면ang His Holiness 고 비낭다 access to 고이당디 nombre 이제 시스템 된 nombre 가는 포당 고미나 시스템 라디 nombre 이 시스템 짓미나에다 오조 폴로야 예 게미나다 빌하냐나에 technical sessions ka minati na imbur it bajida ngapo gajeja zomlinga city keta thoing sia imbur mahapo ka da uso ge seng yaso conference ki monlumpa mena dercha munu namada pore imbur it minuku da 6 Dalai Lama korim Himalayan belt ka ni jugosuwa it min zomling ngapo ka dercha munu keta ge it rebeladi no a very good afternoon ladies and gentlemen I hope distinguished guests who have come here from within the country and abroad, you must have understood what I said. Obviously, it was a joke. So I'm very honored to be amongst you all and to speak before you regarding this inaugural function of the first of its kind, the International Conference on Cultural and Historical Significance of His Holiness, the 6th Dalai Lama, Tawang Gyatso. And most respectfully, Venerable Rinpoche, all the monastic members, distinguished guests, and honored scholars, and friends from across the globe, and my dear media friends. Firstly, I would like to extend a warm welcome to my beautiful state, Arunachal Pradesh, and that too in Tawang, which carries a very significant historical relationship with the institution of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. We are all gathered here to deliberate on various aspects of life of 6th Dalai Lama, which is very much least known to the rest of the world. So firstly, I must extend my heartfelt thanks to our chairman, organizing chairman, Reverend Rinpoche, Tengyur Rinpoche, and his all executive members for holding such a beautiful event here in Tawang. It is very wonderfully managed. And also I must compliment my dear friend, Mr. Moji Riva, for his hard work and for his dedication to make this event a very success. So Tawang, as you all know, is not just about the tranquil homes of monasteries and faith, but it also is the esteemed birthplace of the 6th Dalai Lama, His Holiness Tawang Gyatso. The sacred connection endows this conference with greater meaning as we gather here to reflect upon a towering figure whose extraordinary life traversed the realms of spirituality, poetry, and turbulent political drama. Born in 1683, His Holiness Tawang Gyatso stands as an enigma in the tapestry of Monpa history. Unlike his predecessors, he chose the path less traveled, a life marked with profound spiritual insight, intertwined with deep human longing. Many have viewed his reign through the lens of paradox, a monk who penned love songs, a leader who lived in the middle of a political storm, a visionary who vibrantly bridged the aesthetic and the metaphysical. Now, what sets the 6th Dalai Lama apart is not only his lyrical geniuses, as attested in his immortal verses that echoes with longing, impermanence, and love, but also his embodiment of the inherently human aspects of spiritual leadership. His poetry inscribed across generations, crossed cultural boundaries, distilling the essence of Buddhist philosophy into everyday emotions of joy, loss, and hope. Who does not recall the verses, as was mentioned by our Reverend Yangte Rinpoche, and I quote, "White crane, lend me your wings. I will not fly far from Lithang. I shall return," I unquote. So even these days, 6th Dalai Lama's verses continues to connect the Himalayan regions with the wider world, forming a bridge between traditions and modernity. The cultural significance of His Holiness Tawang Gyatso is immense, particularly for the people of Arunachal Pradesh and the entire Himalayan belt. And yet, we look around us, we do not see the vibrancy of his legacy in the land of his birth. Yes, we are a little aware of his life and the songs that he has written, but the community in general, even today, is not significantly aware of the historical significance of the life of Tawang Gyatso, nor much of the cultural and literary legacy he has left behind. 6th Dalai Lama, His Holiness Tawang Gyatso, is also regarded as one of the greatest of the Tantric in Tibetan history. Scholars often speak of his poems not only as epic song of love and longing, but as tantric verses with profound yet hidden meanings which only the accomplished masters of Tantrism can interpret. Often blending the sacred and profound, His collected works are not only widely celebrated in Tibetan culture, but also widely translated and studied. His disappearance and death are mirrored with mystery. The official sources say he died in 1706, but some accounts suggest that he lived a secret life for another 40 years and even visited his birthplace, the Mondial. The undisputed fact, however, is that the son of Mondial, who was chosen as the reincarnation of the highest office in Tibet, still reigns the heart of millions as one of the most legendary Dalai Lamas. Seen in the backdrop, this conference brings many possibilities. It brings the possibilities of knowing more about his life, of the sixth Dalai Lama. It brings up the possibilities of us better understanding the political and historical turbulent times he lived in. It brings up the possibilities of getting to know more about his songs, the literary and the spiritual context in which they were composed. And most importantly, it gives us the opportunity to understand and better appreciation the institution of Dalai Lama and what it means across the Himalayan region and world as a whole. The impact of this conference will not only be confined to academic pursuits, but will also traverse across cultures, across boundaries, and more importantly, in the whole realm of spirituality, particularly of the Buddhist practice of the Nalanda tradition. As we gathered here in Tawang, let us remember His Holiness Hyang Gyatso for what he truly was, an immortal bridge between worlds, a poet, a voice of gentle humanity in the cacophony of his age. May his legacy guide us as we search for harmony, wisdom, and understanding in our own certain times. I once again take this opportunity to welcome all the delegates participating in this conference, both from within the country and also from the foreign countries. I also convey my best wishes to all the speakers and hope that the knowledge shared by them will go a long way in enriching the world to the cultural and historical significance of the sixth Dalai Lama. I pray for the grand success of this conference. May the wisdom of sixth Dalai Lama illuminate our heart and guide our journey ahead. Tashidile, thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Arunachal.
Thank you very much, our most dynamic Honorable Chief Minister, Shriman Pema Khandoji, for the beautiful inaugural address. Now I'd like to request you to kindly release the book, which has been written by Venerable Dr. Rigyal Hawa Rinpoche, exploring the collected works of Gyalwa Tsangya Gyatso and the newly composed Tongchue of Gyalwa Tsangya Gyatso. And as I informed you earlier, next year, which is not very far, Venerable Rinpoche will be releasing another book on the life of His Holiness the Sixth Dalai Lama, Rinpoche Tsangya Gyatso. And in that book, Rinpoche told me that the writings of Gyalwa Tsangya Gyatso himself will be included. Thank you very much. ये परम पावन छठे दलाई लामा के जीवन पर आधारित एक पुस्तक जो कि पूज्य डॉक्टर रिग्यल हावा रिम्पोचे ने इस पुस्तक को लिखे हैं और निकट भविष्य में बल्कि आने वाले वर्ष बताया जा रहा है कि एक अंग्रेजी में परम पावन छठे दलाई लामा स्वयं द्वारा लिखे गए कुछ जो महत्वपूर्ण दस्तावेज हैं उनको भी शामिल करते हुए एक पुस्तक अंग्रेजी में जिसका विमोचन यथासंभव हम लोग इसी मंच से करने की कोशिश करेंगे. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. एंड आफ्टर दिस नाउ आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट द आर्टिस्ट्स ऑफ मोनपा इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ परफॉर्मिंग आर्ट्स to please come on the stage and present the homage, a musical performance through which they will pay their homage to His Holiness the Sixth Dalai Lama, Rizin Sangye Gyatso.
When Dyoga Chobane, Yawa Sang Gyatso Tube, Chopshe, Bulam Shuju.
So that was a beautiful performance. Sharso Rivo Tsela Karsung Tawashi. And these lines are taken from the poems of His Holiness the Sixth Dalai Lama. Thank you very much for that beautiful performance by Monpa Institute of Performing Arts. Now, I would like to request Director, Department of Karmic and Adhyatmic Affairs, Shri Thupten Kaldenla, for the closing remarks.
Mönduga Tokpe Tominamla Tojana Shugi, TG Lerimti, Arunajangati Shunki, Churi Tangangi, Nedumba, Gusho, Tupten Geden Laki, Tojichi Sungshe Nangju.
Kanjin Gumbo, Tenzin Gamzola, Sowa Dev Soshende Lundupsho. I pray that the wishes of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama be fulfilled spontaneously without any hindrance. With these as my pre-aspirations, may I now pay homage to Venerable Yangden Rinpoche, who is representing the office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala, and the Abbot Gandhi Sharse Monastery, Rangjung Neljur Khandula, and other Tulku Rinpoches, Geshe Lakdorla, Director LTWA Dharamsala, and other monastic members, both monks and nuns, who are present here amongst us. And most respected Honorable Chief Minister, Government of Arunachal Pradesh, Sri Pema Khandula, and other political leaders who are present here, senior government officers, and most of all, both the foreign and national eminent scholars who have come here all the way for the conference, media friends, and ladies and gentlemen. This maiden international conference on the culture and historical significance of His Holiness the Sixth Dalai Lama, Gyawat Seang Gyatso, or the Monpa Dalai Lama, has been a dream for the people of Monyul, particularly the people of Tawang, for a long time. I, for myself, even can't believe my eyes that today, here we have a galaxy of eminent scholars, both from India and abroad, who are very famous historians, researchers on the life story of Sixth Dalai Lama in many renowned universities and institutions across the world. We are so fortunate and blessed today to have this dream come true finally in such magnanimity. Although there are many individuals who have worked very, very hard for this conference to come into being, but the most important was our Honorable Chief Minister, Sri Pema Khandula, without whose effort this conference might not have seen the day. Therefore, we all the workers under him for this conference are so grateful to him for contributing wholeheartedly, be it resource-wise, be it approach-wise, be it guidance-wise. For everything, we could rely on him. And we are so equally grateful to all the delegates who have come here in different capacities and positions despite many difficulties they faced. Without them, this maiden conference would have been just like any other conference. In fact, this is going to be an extraordinary conference or a unique conference in many ways that we will see in days to come, and I'm absolutely sure about it. Now, on the little sad parts, as we know that although the sixth Dalai Lama, Gyawat Seang Gyatso, was born in 1683 in Tawang, nearly 343 years ago, but in his own birthplace today in Tawang, Arunachal Pradesh, India, there is not much of activity or importance paid relating to him as compared to in Tibet, in Mongolia, in China, and now even in the Western world. In these countries, the gurlus or the Dharma songs composed by him are so popular that they sing every now and then and everywhere. And people take a lot of interest in the life story
be it the conventional biography or the hidden biography. Under such circumstances, to me, it only reminds me one of his gurlu or the Dharma song that goes as Norbu Rangla Yedi Norbi Nornya Machi Norbu Shen La Shoti Ninglong Te La Sansong. The meaning is, when the gem was with you, you did not understand its value. But when others have the same gem, you start regretting. In this way, the sixth Dalai Lama, Gyaltsang Gyatso, had already predicted what was going to happen in Tawang in future and gave us the Mompas a lesson then. Unfortunately, we did not understand it. But now, after this conference, I'm fully confident that our younger generations will surely take interest in the history related to sixth Dalai Lama in particular, and they will take interest in the Dalai Lama institution, and thereby they will surely pay attention in the wishes and advices of His Holiness the Great 14th Dalai Lama. We, the people of Tawang, sincerely and wholeheartedly remember the statement given by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama on 2nd July this year from Dharamsala that the Dalai Lama institution will remain, and the Ganden Photang Trust, the office of the His Holiness Dalai Lama, will be the sole authority in recognizing the future reincarnations of Dalai Lama, and no one else has such authority. We, the people of Monpa people, also remember the advice given by His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Leh Ladakh this year on 12th July that in the future the people of Himalayan region should take up the responsibilities in maintaining the Buddha Dharma, particularly the Nalanda tradition, Bögi Nangde. And for that, we assure you here today that we will follow and abide the valuable advices of His Holiness the Great 14th Dalai Lama. Lastly, I want to remind you that we have technical sessions of the conference from tomorrow onwards at Tudin Shedling Foundation in Sayang Gyatso Hall, which is around 2 kilometers away from here on 4th, 5th, until 6th lunchtime. And on 6th afternoon, we have valedictory program here in Kalaongpo Hall. Till then, thank you very much, everyone, and Tujiche.
Thank you very much, the most respected Director, Department of Karmic and Adhyatmic Affairs, Shriman Thupten Kaldanla. Now I would like to request the artists from Dharamshala, especially the Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts, to please come on the stage to give homage to the sixth Dalai Lama through their musical performance. But before that, I would like to inform you all that TIPA, the Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts, which has been formed after the Chinese occupation of Tibet in 1959 by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, to safeguard the cultural treasures of Tibet. And for more than 65 years, TIPA has remained dedicated to this vision. And as of now, we have a very good and a cordial relation with TIPA, and many of our artists from Monpa Institute of Performing Arts are being trained and have been trained by the Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts. And the present program which they are going to present right now is known as Nangma, or the Nangma tradition of Tibetan song and dance, which emerged in the 17th century as refined entertainment in noble courts of old Lhasa.
구셔 토된 게들라 토제나 디네 표지 되가 척배 개와 창 자수 되베 접시에 빌람시주 디네 찹dun카 도장우두시나 당부디 깔라왕베 남타 당 디네 자디 총총 까무 셔쟁알라야 당 당리 양라머푸 리당고네 리비우시베 굴루 니비슈고도 디네 남마달라시바 디 나달라시베게 셰티티도 모트슈브나 저시 둠렌 낭도 할루미도 총샤 nga주 시베마예 닝쿵 장자 법송스 저시 둠렌 낭도 할루미도 총바슈어디 개와 창자 창 자주처 우젠링了구담베 저시 딤지 상부탕 닝쿵 nga주 시베마예 당 닝쿵 장자 법송스 슈아디 야와 nga바처 구냥알레 데바탕 창 자주처 그 영시 추미라 의지슈베 세자 장외게 퇴직도 가족이 된게 소나村别게 망추게 시지를 돌 도제나
참을로 뜻래 당부들이야 나란줄 함유 남들 개보깔라 왕벽이 남다 스피쇼지 파질라마 남라 차셀로 양송 군쇼 숨라 쏘와데
Kurinche Tuchenang, the artist of Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts. और जैसे कि थोड़ी देर पहले यहाँ पर डायरेक्टर चुस्रिक विभाग ने आप लोगों को बताया है कि कल से जो तकनीकी सत्र है वो तुप्तिन शेरपलुंग में आयोजित किए जा रहे हैं। तो इसमें जिन्होंने पंजीकरण नहीं करवाया है तो वो आप वहाँ पर जाकर अपने आप को पंजीकरण करवा सकते हैं। और जो एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत जो इतिहास आज से लगभग 400 साल पहले एक ऐसे सिद्ध पुरुष, एक बुद्धिजीवी जिन्होंने इस मॉड्यूल में अवतारित हुए थे, जन्म लिए थे, उनके जीवन पर अगर आप और ज़्यादा विस्तार से जानकारी लेना चाहते हैं तो ज़रूर इस तकनीकी सत्र में आपको शामिल होनी चाहिए। एंड विद दिस आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट ऑल द वेनरेबल रिम्पोचेस एंड डिग्निटरीज टू प्लीज कम ऑन द स्टेज फॉर पिक्चर्स। और यहाँ ये भी बताना चाहूँगा कि जैसे कि ग्यावा संयंग ग्याचो यानी कि जो ब्रह्मकोश के जो धारक है, जिसके अंदर ब्रह्मा के सम्मान जो ज्ञान है, उसके जीवन के बारे में जो इस तवांग में अवतारित हुए थे उसके बारे में अगर आप और अधिक जानकारी लेना चाहते हैं तो कल से तकनीकी सत्र में आप ज़रूर शामिल होइएगा। और इस बीच वंस अगेन आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट द वेनरेबल रिम्पोचेस एंड डिग्निटरीज टू प्लीज कम ऑन द स्टेज फॉर अ पिक्चर प्लीज।
Tine Gondun Tang Chokjawan Nyamba Junjudan Tine Tiringi Geji Gewa Tang Jazui Shibju Sondu Shibe Sondu Oji Zego Yongsu Tubai Tujena.
Her soul